Good morning, everyone. Happy Selection Sunday. Kind of like NCAA, or March Madness, but December and January Madness instead.
And college football.
Yeah,
college
much better.
Basketball.
Much better.
Much more madness.
Yeah, a lot of madness. It's going to be madness this morning. It's going to be chaos. So prepare ourselves, right? Was watching the little pregame that they had. Coach Mullen and Orlovsky had us at 5, which is great. And then Louis Riddick had us at 7, which is no good. So hopefully Riddick's is dead wrong, because that would be not ideal. Let's see. We're waiting on our buddy Jeff to join us here. He's going to be morning, Brett Boyson on. What's up, fellas? How we doing? We are going to be on here while they make the announcement, and then talk about it a little bit afterwards. Hopefully they're not paying a ton of bills, and it ends up being a 4-hour show. Hopefully it's just going to be a quick announcement. We'll talk about our opponent a little bit, and then let you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, NFL Sunday, or whatever it is that you guys do on Sundays, church, NFL, whatever. And then we'll be doing some deep dives starting next Saturday, on our opponent. So, Nate, where do you think we're going to go? Where do you want to be? What do you think?
I think 7. I hope 5 or 6.
Okay.
7 would really concern me, because I think the committee would favor Georgia over Notre Dame in that matchup. And we would have to play them in the second round in a southern state, and that would really concern me. I know Notre Dame travels well, but I don't know. That Georgia's still Georgia, and no matter what their record says, I also, as a Notre Dame, not only as a Notre Dame fan, but a college football fan, I don't see how Texas or Penn State has a better resume than us. Texas lost to Georgia twice, and Texas also lost to Georgia convincingly once, and then lost last night to Georgia. I don't know why.
Nate's going to change the channel, because I'm not sure. Somebody just asked what channel is it on, and now we're not finding it. I'm assuming ABC, so he's going to go change the channel, because we're going to be literally watching it as we go. 5 is the spot we deserve, from Frank Roche. That's absolutely right. Patty McCormick, let's effing go. Home playoffs. Yep, that's, I think, a given. Here comes Jeff. Good morning, sir.
Hey, what's going on, man?
How are you?
It's a beautiful day.
Good.
Watching this unfold.
So Jeff Strobejek is in Indiana as well, not too far from Notre Dame. So Jeff, what's the weather like, man?
It's actually pretty mild right now. We had a little bit of a cold streak with some good wind. Out in South Bend, though, they've seen some snow, which is about, I'd say 60 miles, give or take, away from here, about an hour away. So they've had some nice weather down there, especially if we're going to welcome a Southern team. But we'll see how this one plays out.
See, Jesse Moreno in the chat from Facebook says, "I'll take anyone in South Bend. Let's go Irish." So what would you say if it is those kind of conditions we're expecting, like a full-on blizzard practically? Do you really think that gives us a huge advantage, or do you feel like it's not as much of an advantage as people are saying?
I think one of the biggest things that people don't understand is these kids at Notre Dame are used to these elements. Even the Southern Cal kids, the down south kids that have experience at Notre Dame, where once cold weather hits, it's a shock. Like the Florida State game where it was 50 degrees. Florida State guys were draped up in masks and whatnot. So I think it does play a factor, but it's more of a mind over matter kind of thing.
Sure.
When you take that into context. But with our running game, I think it's very advantageous. Getting a team trying to get a guy or a lineman or a linebacker to hit Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price coming full speed. I think that's an advantage in itself too.
No, that's a good point. And Trevor Rail just said, if we host a team from the South, we have the advantage. So it seems like our fan base definitely feels the same way. It's all melting now in South Bend, 48 degrees. That's from Ron.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll come back. I did want to put, I think I said this yesterday on the show, but I did see a little report that it looks like Jeremiah Love and Howard Cross did participate lightly in practice yesterday, a very light practice. So nothing really to gain from that, nothing really to take from that. But I don't think there's a chance in where that Jeremiah Love and Howard Cross are not full go for that first game against whoever we end up playing. That we'll find out here in just a few minutes, hopefully. Let's see. Brian Campbell, if Bama gets in the committee hold on, let me put this as a pin. Brian Campbell says if Bama gets in the committee as a lying bunch of frauds, they say losing conference title games will not negatively impact them. What's your take on that? Is it going to be Bama in or SMU in?
I have heard just a mixed bag, and I think with all things being said and the dust settled, it's finally fun to say Alabama is getting what they deserve, and I think they're getting what they deserve here. Do I think they're one of the best 12 teams in the country? Absolutely. But do I think that criteria is going to reign over the 12 best teams? I think so. I don't know how you could penalize a team that's lost by 6 total points in 2 games, that has taken teams to the final whistle and lost on game-winning field goals. So I think SMU is going to be the one that gets in.
I hope you're right. I have a lot of respect for Bama with Saban and everything they've been able to accomplish and just the machine they built. But yeah, no, I think if the committee's serious about themselves, you leave Bama out this year, they'll be back. They're going to be in the playoff discussion, if not the playoffs, every year. And you give SMU that opportunity for winning their conference. And, or they didn't win their conference. I'm sorry for such a great season. But what did you learn anything last night about any of these teams?
Penn State's defense isn't as good as everyone thought. Oregon's defense is very soft, especially giving up 37 points to Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some there's holes in a lot of these teams where I think I learned a lot yesterday where, man, this is an open field where I don't think we've ever seen this before in this playoff landscape where there's no true dominant force that we're seeing out of the Georgias or Alabamas that are expected to steamroll into the championship.
What about you, Nate? Did you learn anything yesterday from any of the conference championship games?
I'd say Oregon's offense is legit. I
Agreed.
They're so fast, but I think every team, like you said, is beatable. There's really no dominant team this year where you're like, oh, you got to look out for this team or fear this team. So I really think it's open this year.
I think, like Jeff said, I was actually most surprised, I guess you could say, by Penn State. They looked a lot better than they did against Ohio State at home. Their defense was good. Their offense actually surprised me. I didn't think they were going to be able to move the ball too much.
No.
They came out and did pretty well, and it was pretty competitive up until about the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. So that was surprising. Arizona State cannot be overlooked.
I agree.
I think
point.
They defensively are better than I've ever seen them play. And being on the West Coast and living in Arizona, you see a lot of Arizona State games after the Irish play. And you've never seen a defense that can actually keep them competitive because their offense is always going to be good. And that Skattebo is an absolute stud. He is – I think it's going to be really cool to see. You got 3 absolute otherworldly running backs in this playoff. You got Jeremiah Love, who, yes, I'm biased, but I still think is the best running back in the country. You got Genty over at Boise State, and then you got Skattebo over at Arizona State. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see these guys on the biggest stage of them all showing off what they can do. And also 12 teams are going to have all their guys ready to go and competing instead of I'm going to sit this guy out because I didn't get the national championship game. So I'm just really excited for this format. I think it's working the way it's supposed to. We'll see what happens here in a few minutes with SMU or Bama. But I think that the 12-team format is going to make it to where Notre Dame, if they take care of business, will always have an opportunity to have a say in the brackets.
Sure.
Let's see. A couple comments coming in right there. Arizona State is red hot right now from Pat McCormick. Jason Lynch, morning, fellas. Good morning, lunch truck. Let's see. Here we go. Going to be a shocker if SMU gets left out. That's from Johnny Self. I think we all kind of agree with that.
I think that's pretty accurate from all of us.
Apparently, we need to keep our voices down because Rich Ducher is watching from church. So we'll do our best to maintain our excitement level here. Let's see, Brian Campbell said, Did Clemson's win over 8 ranked do more than ASU win over 16 to give Clemson the bye and not ASU? No, I think
No.
I think ASU gets the bye
Yeah.
on that in that equation. So I and plus I think their conference was highly competitive, and nothing against the ACC, but I think Arizona State had a tougher road than Clemson did this year. Let's see. Rhonda Hackner said, "Are you watching? Going to announce our game date, team, and time. Selection is on ESPN. I don't have. Yeah, we're literally watching it in our man cave here on the outside in our family TV, so we can see it and literally bring it to you live for people that don't have it, and then hopefully be able to decipher what the second and third rounds might look like in terms of who the Irish would play and then where they would play. So right now they're just kind of doing a recap of the Big Ten championship last night between Oregon and Penn State. Yeah, that was a good game. I thought it was going to be a blowout. I definitely didn't see Penn State being as competitive as they are.
No.
Arizona State and Iowa State. Arizona State dominated that game literally from start to finish, man.
I thought I was going to see Clemson run away with their game as well, and that one started off, and I think one of my good friends told me, "Oh, SMU's done." I was like, not so fast. I gave him the Lee Corso, and it ended up turning into the game that I expected.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Nate, what do you think? Clemson or ASU getting the bye?
I would have to go ASU. I don't think Clemson showed much this year. I think they lost to a bad but overhyped South Carolina team, and they lost to a Louisville team at home. So off of bye week. So I don't know how much of a bye they should get for the playoffs.
No. And King Dabo was on his perch saying that they should be considered, and I just question. It's like what is this based on your past experiences in the playoff, Dabo? Because that's not what we're going on here. It's criteria, and you should just be blessed that you're getting in.
Yep, agreed. And that's another thing. I mean, ACC, they're going to have an automatic bid for their champions. So Dabo and company are going to be right there just about every year, just like the Irish.
17, number 17 in the polls. Well, they probably moved up, but that's just it's the nature of the beast of what the committee wanted.
I like Bobby Cauley's comment here. Doesn't matter how it pans out, Irish all the way. Love that mentality.
Wow.
See, go ahead. Sorry.
I think yesterday in our group chat when Patty brought up like who do we want to see, or it was you, who do we want to see? I kind of had that same mentality too, because like I said at the opening here, it's wide open, man. Wide open. Bring anyone to South Bend, then we'll go play at the Sugar Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl or wherever.
Bowl, yeah.
And just handle our business. And one of the biggest things is staying healthy, man.
Yeah, totally.
I think tit for tat, it's going to be the war of attrition. Who's going to be the healthiest coming out of each game?
I think it was Mullen that mentioned it earlier this morning. He said this is where college football is becoming even more like the NFL because you're actually having to go on the road and play a playoff game to advance. It's a longer format, obviously. So, yeah, no, I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of these guys to get a feeling of what it's going to be like to have that grind of 16 games in the NFL season plus playoffs.
Sure.
You mentioned injuries. One of the things I wanted to point out is that Notre Dame is going to have the longest rest period of any of these teams. So we take care of business against SC, and then we're off for 3 weeks to prepare and get healthy, and that's going to be huge. I mean, I really do think Howard Cross will be at 100%. I think Jeremiah Love will be at 100%, and they'll be rested and ready. And take my money with Brian. Oh my God, I almost said Brian Van Gorder. With Mike Denbrock and Al Golden to have 3 weeks to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent, 3 weeks to get their guys ready and coached up. I think that's maybe an overlooked thought that people aren't considering. So right now they're doing a resume comparison with Alabama and SMU. They've got strength of record, Alabama at 9, SMU at 15. Strength of schedule, Alabama at 16, SMU at 60. What I'm seeing here is that they're already trying to lay the groundwork for Bama getting in. And they're
I'm just so sick of it because I mean I'm 35 years old and I've seen Bama win national championship after national championship, and once we put criteria in there on what this committee is going to stand by, and if they go in reverse and by precedent put Alabama in when it's criteria based, guys. I'm not saying I'm afraid of Alabama, but it's like, when is it going to stop?
right.
When is it going to stop?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. When is it going to stop? And I think that's what people are saying is like, Bama's had their worst year they've had in probably 10, 15 years.
Sure.
And does that mean that just because of their history that they deserve that spot? I don't know. But again, ESPN already kind of putting the fillers out there to see how people are going to respond to, the side-by-side comparison showing that they would deserve it as opposed to SMU.
All I got to say is 6-6 Oklahoma and 6-6 Vandy.
And they got absolutely rolled by Oklahoma.
Both games, they were dominated. They were dominated.
Let's see. Jay Strong on Facebook says, seen a lot of flaws in all the games yesterday. We can play and hang with any of them. This is not the Indy of 2012. Could not agree more. Not only is it not the Indy of 2012, it's not the Indy of 2018 or 2020 either. The last time we were in the playoffs. Nate and I had the opportunity to go out to Dallas for the Rose Bowl against Alabama. And if I'm being real with myself, once I saw Alabama come out onto the field, I was like, oh, man, I think we might be in for a long day here.
I was there 2012.
Yeah.
Following the week of my brother who played at Northern when they played in the Orange Bowl against Florida State. And we saw some of the Alabama players, and I was like, I don't know about this. And then the first play of scrimmage when I did Cheeseburger Lacey took it 50-something yards up the middle. It was like, maybe we shouldn't be in this game. So, yeah, that's definitely a big field. So
here's an interesting comment from Josh Hill on Facebook. He says, on the sportsbook sites, you can't even play Bama to win it all anymore, only SMU. So that's an interesting little tidbit. I wonder if somebody maybe
if that's the same Josh Hill. That's the same Josh Hill I went to high school with. So if that, it could be. That's interesting. I do like that because if Vegas knows or if Vegas is putting something, I think the Roll Tide is going to be in the Las Vegas Bowl or the Pop-Tarts.
What is Lynch talking about here? All these good-looking reporters and SMU gets Quint. Oh, so I think Lynch is talking about the reporters at some of these sites are attractive, and then SMU gets Quint Kucinich.
That's the way it rolls. That's the way it rolls. Marty, what's his name? Marty Smith was at Miami, and I was surprised by that. But yeah, there's a good amount of those at each of the sites. I'm trying to think if there was anyone at Notre Dame. I'm pretty sure someone was at Notre Dame too when they were talking about him. Do you remember?
No, I don't recall.
I can't off the top of my head. But it's one of those where what's nice is I feel 5, 6, 7. I think we're going to be safe hosting a game, which is I think the ultimate goal. When we lost that first game.
Yep.
What was it, 12 weeks ago now? We lost that first game, and now look at where we are right now. I didn't think that we would be at this point, but following the season as it went on, Marcus was very true to his word and very, very, very prepared. I mean, just kicking ass the whole time.
Let's see. Patrick McCormick says, what do you guys think the spread would be? Notre Dame versus Indiana in South Bend. Jeff, what do you think?
Conservatively, it'll be like 6.5. I think it'll be just a touchdown favorite.
Okay. Yeah, I worry about a team like Indiana. Only not worry, but I think they're dangerous in the sense that they have nothing to lose, right? Like they're there. It's in Indiana. They want to be the state champs, if you want to call it that, of Indiana. They obviously have some weapons, but from a talent standpoint, Notre Dame blows them out of the water. And once again, I think we've said it a million times this year since the NIU game. The Irish are prepared and they have a chip on their shoulder and they're playing like it. It's not coach speak anymore. They really do take this personally after what happened against NIU. If you watch the Here Come the Irish series on Peacock the other day, you could just see in their faces what that was like to have that loss. I mean, Howard Cross looked like he wanted to run through a wall, and
Yeah.
Jack Kaiser looked like somebody kicked his dog, and all these different guys that just were absolutely crushed and devastated, thinking that was it. For Freeman to be able to bounce back and do what we've been able to do this year for the remainder of the year, I understand Cignetti and all that, give him Coach of the Year, blah, blah, blah. Coach Freeman absolutely deserves Coach of the Year because people are forgetting how many key injuries we've had, from Botello to RoboCop to Ben Morrison and everywhere else, anywhere in between that I'm forgetting. All the linemen that went out early, Jagasaw. What he's been able to do with that group is incredible, straight up.
Oh, and I mean, they have an offensive line as a Joe Moore semifinalist, and they aren't a finalist, but Army's a finalist. And if we went head to head, this is just me going on a tangent here. We're talking about that Notre Dame Army game. One's a finalist, one's not a finalist. What was the final score of that game? And how many rushing yards do we have?
Over 300, I believe.
It was 270, but
was it? Okay.
It was 270, but we had probably 20 less carries than Army.
Yeah,
because hell, Jeremiah Love had 9 for 130. So
at least
it's just I understand, I guess. But it's one of those things that you just go back to the end of the day and you're like, I know what this team's capable of, and I think the end goal is a national championship. I mean, the same could be said about Xavier Watts and the snub with him. Let X be X. I think he's the best defensive player in the country, and it's not even close. So,
yep. And the fact that he wasn't even in the finalists for the oh my gosh, what's it called? Not Thorpe.
Yeah, Nagurski.
Nagurski. Thank you. Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
They're not going to release it quite yet.
Oh, okay.
They're just kind of laying out what the bracket will
look like.
Entail.
Like I said, you guys got to keep me abreast because it's on my TV in my living room, but I'm making sure I don't affect a family household or have kids be running in the background and whatnot. So
let's see. Amber Sullivan says, let's post this one. Freeman has earned some serious respect based on how that team has responded to such a tough loss. They are well coached and well prepared. Claim like someone offended their mama.
Amber, that's a great comment because it's one of those things where you saw it before the Louisville game, how Marcus wanted a reaction out of those guys on Here Come the Irish. He got that reaction. You just saw in some of the players like Howard Cross, like you look at Howard Cross as they pan on him as they're in the meeting room and he's like, God, I can't stand that this is on. And then someone was like, man, it's 7 a.m. and I'm walking into the Goog and I'm seeing the final. I'm seeing me get beat on an out route or something like that. It's like, good.
Right. Remember how that felt. Yeah. Hey, I wasn't listening to the radio broadcast. Obviously, I was watching the TV. Are they doing it now?
I think they're slowly going to start.
ESPN being ESPN, they are absolutely dragging their feet and trying to pay every single friggin' bill they can. But they've got the Oregon gets number one. It's like they're officially going with it now. Let's scoot over just a tiny bit, Nate.
I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna leave I'm still on though.
Number 2 seed coming up. I'm assuming it's going to be Georgia. Yep. Number 2 seed is Georgia.
3 should be.
3's going to be Boise. Watch.
Yeah. And 4 probably ASU.
Yeah.
So 1 is Oregon, 2 is Georgia.
Yeah, no, we got to talk 10 minutes about Georgia, okay? Yeah.
Here we go. Resume comparison. They're comparing Boise State, Arizona State, and Clemson. Strength of schedule. Favors Clemson at the 35th. Wow, Boise State's was 81st. That's crazy.
Especially because they played Oregon.
Right.
At Oregon.
Key wins, UNLV twice, Washington State for Boise, Arizona State, key wins, Kansas State, BYU, and Iowa State. Clemson, key wins, Pitt, and SMU.
Pitt's a key win for Clemson.
That's a rough resume right there.
Losses. Louisville at home.
Right. Okay, here we go. Number 3 coming at you.
Oregon, Georgia, pretty easy. The 3rd seed in the college football playoff divided quarterfinals.
Boise State, number 3 seed. Okay.
Nice.
Sense.
I like it. I like it.
That's deserved.
Yeah, it's the right choice.
Deserved because the team that's above them is the only team that beat them. So
Right.
and they took them to the they played 4 quarters, guys. So I mean,
Gary Kennedy just said, I think we end up at 7. I hope not. I'd really want 5, but we'll see what happens here.
4 should be ASU.
Yeah.
should be ASU.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Arizona State with the 4 seed.
Okay. Forks up.
Forks. Yeah, Kenny Dillingham. Holy cow.
He's awesome.
Yeah, no, he
I
is.
will say he's been an awesome breath of fresh air out of some of these head coaches.
Totally. Yeah. No, him, and I don't even know the Boise State's head coach, but I love him.
Yeah, Spencer Danielson.
There you go.
We'll see.
Okay, so let's see.
Sounds
So,
like
yeah.
some of the bowl games have already been revealed.
Yeah, well, they just said right now that they'll tell you when some of the bowl games will be revealed, so we may not have that info just yet.
Georgia will be the Sugar Bowl. I know that for a fact because I actually looked at that because of the Notre Dame scenario being the 7-10.
So this next one here, guys, is the big one. We want to get that 5th.
5 or 6.
Let's not get disappointed though. Do you think they go 1 by 1 or
What? Man.
No, that's 12. They gave
I thought it was
Clemson.
5. I thought it
Yeah,
was-
that's what I just said. I was like, do you think they're gonna go 1 by 1 with the pairings?
That's what I
So
thought it was.
that's what they're doing. That would have been nuts.
So that'll give us
I
that'll
would
give us the
love
5
Clemson.
seed. Yeah.
Gosh, Clemson.
I would love Clemson to come back here.
So we've got number 1 Oregon, number 2 Georgia, Boise State, Arizona State, and then they put the final automatic bid in at Clemson at number 12. So 5 through 8, I'll get home games, which we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Texas got 5. Son of a biscuit.
I think we're getting the 7, boys.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
So 6 would get, let's see, 13. 6 will play 13.
I wonder if they'll put 13 in before 6.
No, 6 gets
No,
11.
I'm sorry.
6 gets 11.
Yeah, 6 gets 11.
Yeah.
I want 5 will be okay if they get 6. Okay, well,
I don't know how Clemson deserves. I mean, Texas deserves 5. I don't.
Another team. There are only 2 ranked games that they played were both losses to Georgia
They got smacked by Georgia at home.
at home. I'm interested to see who's going to be the 11. SMU, I'm guessing. Yeah.
SMU or Bama.
I'm trying to give a.
They're the 5 seed.
All right.
According to the rankings, who has the 6 seed?
Penn State gets 6.
I knew it, man.
Committee bias is real.
Yeah, I knew it. It's
So now the question is, who are we going to play at that 7 spot?
IU, man. I'm telling you, it's gonna be IU.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So 6 will play 11 or 13. 7 will play, or 6 will play 11.
Yeah.
7 will play
7-10.
10.
The 8-9 is guaranteed for Tennessee and Ohio
Right.
State.
Right.
So,
You never know, but yeah, you're probably right.
or do they? This is crazy talk, but do you think that they would push Alabama in if they got Alabama in?
Here we go. Official Notre Dame got 7.
Yeah.
So if we win, we get Georgia in the Sugar Bowl.
Yes. There's a home
There you go.
game in South Bend. There's the boys.
There's the boys in all white. That's all right. So Irish come in with the 7 seed. Not what we wanted, but better than not being in the playoffs at all. And we're still hosting a playoff game.
And we're still hosting. I think that is the overall goal. Is Ward Manuel going to give it to the SEC or the Big Ten?
Big Ten.
Oh, yeah. And he's giving it to the team that he hates.
Yep, which is hilarious.
He knows to take care of his
Ohio State,
Yeah.
number 8.
Now it's just who we play.
God, Penn State just given they just get the royal treatment. I'm sorry.
All the time. Yeah, because they're gonna whoever they play in the first round, then they got to go to Boise State, which is a heck of a lot easier than going to Georgia.
I hope. Well, no, they're gonna have to play Boise State at a bowl game, but in a bowl because it's not a home game. It's a regular bowl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's also on the South. In the Southland.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll release that of where the quarter bowls are.
So if you're joining us late, Notre Dame comes in with the 7th seed. They'll be playing the 10th team in the nation, which will probably be Indiana, but we're yet to see that. Number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Boise State. Number 4, Arizona State. 5, Texas. 6, Penn State. Totally overrated there. Tennessee comes in
At 10 or 9.
the 9 seed. So
We all kind of knew that.
that'll be an interesting game, Tennessee and Ohio State.
Two very unique teams.
Yeah, but I think Ohio State is definitely going to have a huge home field advantage there, and I think
Yeah.
I'm going to take Ohio State in that one.
Yeah, Tennessee's got a very strong defense, which I think has carried them into this.
I know Ohio State's going to have to go to Oregon if they beat Tennessee, but I don't know. Well, neutral site.
Yeah, it's all neutral site at that point. So
Okay. 13, so Penn State's opponent.
11,
What did I say?
13.
My bad.
you're stuck on the 13. It's
Yeah.
all right. It's all right.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't look like we're going to have an idea of where or what day we play yet or who the second round will be or anything yet. So
Yeah.
we'll have to wait for that for a little bit. We'll drop that news as well. It's kind of crazy looking at this bracket. Technically only 2 teams with a better record than us, Boise State and Oregon.
I am interested to see when they put Warren Emanuel on to see what he says about
Indiana,
Notre Dame.
Yep, there it is. Indiana versus Notre Dame.
Indiana, Notre Dame.
Love it. What I don't like about that is it doesn't give us that schematic freezing cold advantage.
It's okay. All right, I'm coming back to screen. Oh, see it this way: we get a team. We get a team that is a riser, but I think they got brought down to their level. But they went into Purdue and absolutely mollywopped, or Purdue came in and they mollywopped them, which doesn't say much to me. They also have a very arrogant head coach. So, He was actually petitioning. I think I put it in the group chat that they deserve a home game.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Let's see. This says that should free up a lot of room in the airport from Lynch. I still stand by. Brett Boyson says I still stand by. IU doesn't have the exterior plane in big national games. I think he means experience. Eric, Jason DeBalt. We should have played Bama. Yeah, that would have been my choice as well. But Patrick McCormick, what I like is when Indy gets past Uga, third round is very favorable. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Because if we get by
Yeah, that's
Indiana and Georgia, we get most likely, Boise State or Penn State perhaps, unless Penn State's opponent is Bama, which I think
Bama.
Bama would steamroll Penn State.
Are they playing up? They're probably dragging ass on me.
Oh, big time,
Yeah.
because they got to it's either SMU or Bama. Period.
That's their yeah. I'm just
Here it comes. SMU.
wow.
SMU gets in. Bama. Sorry, guys. Better luck next year.
They got to even out their bias. Gotta even it out.
35 Alabama players just
declared for the
eligible for
draft.
the NFL.
Yeah, declared for the draft or entered the portal.
Yeah, that's funny. All
You
right,
know, I think Kellen DeBoer is a good coach. So I
like DeBoer, and I like
Yeah.
it. I don't like Bama, but I respect Bama.
I respect the hell out of Bama. It's one of those things where, do they honestly deserve to get in by how good they are? Yes, but again, that word criteria, it's not rewarding to anyone besides of what this committee thinks of conference title. It's going to eliminate the conference championships.
Yeah, no doubt. It's very interesting. Let's see. We got the 5. We're 5th ranked in the playoffs, which is awesome. But we got the 7th seed because of the automatic bids.
Yep.
So that's just the way it goes. And being independent, I'd rather keep our independence and stick with that. But yeah, that obviously sucks. So we're gonna have, excuse me, number 1 or the 1 seed is Oregon, 2 is Georgia, 3 is Boise State, 4 is Arizona State, 5 is Texas, 6 is Penn State, 7 is Notre Dame, 8 Ohio State, 9 Tennessee, 10 Indiana, SMU 11, and Clemson number 12 sneaking in at the very end there. So you've got a 3-loss team at the tail end of the playoffs. So I think that kind of sets the criteria that in the future you're looking at 2 wins is kind of the absolute glass ceiling, right? You got to at least get two wins or less, because I think Clemson only snuck in because of their last second field goal they made.
100%.
So it's good. I like the fact that this year had some of this kind of controversy, because I think that the committee at least has made it clear that even though Bama's their sweetheart, you still got to meet the criteria. Like Jeff, you said earlier, it's got to be about criteria, and looks like they handled it that way. Surprisingly. Lucky number 7, I will take it. Let's go. That's from Brett. Joey Piccolella says Penn State has it easy. Yeah, they definitely got the beauty seed there for sure, but we'll take it. We're in there. Again, I don't think many of you thought after that NIU disaster that we were even going to be having a conversation about this right now, but much less which seed would we get, 6 or 7. So I think we're all thrilled and happy to be here, and we'll kind of see what happens, see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Nate, I think you could agree on that too, where, what was it, week 2?
Yep.
I was present for that game, and did I think Riley Leonard was going to make it through even the full season as our starting quarterback? Absolutely not. Did I think that the team would lose another game? For sure. Yes. But here we are now, and it's one of those things where you don't exactly lose faith. You just have that doubt in your mind, and that doubt was slowly, I know, Jason, we exchanged a lot of texts through that period, and that doubt was slowly erased when we just absolutely stopped Navy for me, because they just came so prepared and they punched them in the throat.
Yep.
Because I knew we were going to beat Purdue. I knew we were going to beat Miami. I knew Navy, it was like, oh, Navy's undefeated. And then we just, even the Georgia Tech game, it's like, we knew.
It's so funny to me to see some of the Georgia Tech fans in the various social medias talking about if Hayes King had played, that they would have won and this and that. We won by 3 touchdowns, essentially. One of their touchdowns was in garbage time. So I think they need to calm down on that thought right there. It's kind of silly.
What would have Hayes King done?
Nothing more than their other quarterback didn't do.
Yeah, I'm. That's what's confusing to me. Just like Connor Wegman was supposed to just absolutely
wipe the floor with us. Yep.
and he's now in the transfer portal. So maybe Notre Dame's having a determining factor on just absolutely crushing quarterbacks' minds.
Hope so. Because what do you think about we're not going to get too much into it yet, but what's your immediate take on IU? I know you kind of mentioned a little bit that Purdue came in, but what's your overall take on them as a team? How do they do defensively?
I respect them. Greatly. I think that they came out against Ohio State and delivered a gut punch in the opening drive. I watched that full game because I was like, is this Indiana team for real? And they proved to be real for about a quarter. Then their mistakes started coming in. They were in a hostile environment that they haven't even been exposed to. Kirk Cignetti, as a first-year head coach at a P4, I think realized, like, maybe I should shut my mouth a little bit. But it was a thing where I respect their defense. Their front four is pretty formidable. I'll give them that. I think we'll be able to throw the ball on them, depending on the weather. I think our offensive line will get tested. I do think on defense we could have our way with our front seven, and Al Golden's going to see that probably, I'm guessing, in film, and we're going to be blitzing a lot because that's when Curtis Work went wrong. And in the Ohio State game specifically, when Curtis Rourke has time to throw, he's a very good quarterback.
Sure.
When you get him moving, he's not a mobile quarterback. So I think that's going to be a part of the game plan, is to get his feet moving and to really, really, really just bang up front and be aggressive and violent, as we're so used to saying.
Yeah, I really like the violence word being put into play by Freeman. I think that's exactly how this team played down the stretch, and what you're going to see in the playoffs is a pissed off team coming in and ready to show the world that we're not the Notre Dame of 2012, 2018, and 2020, that we're for real and that we can handle the pressure and that we deserve to be here.
Yeah.
Michael Potter said Indy should be a 7-point favorite against IU. Ryan Irish Cubans. They're overhyped. They haven't played anyone. That's from assuming he's talking about Indiana. Let's see. Tony Pillico said we earned a 5th spot. Full body of work has proven that. That's definitely could be said. Jeff, last thing here. We're going to go over the brackets, but first I want to hear from you. What day and time roughly do you think this game will be played between the Irish and Indiana?
Given the opponent now, like, I'm really like in a kind of confused state. Excuse me, my phone's getting blown up here. I'm in like a confused state where I was gonna say, man, Friday was gonna be it. I think they still may do it Friday. But if it's not Friday, I'm guessing Saturday afternoon, because of you got a very high profile game in Ohio State and Tennessee that could be stuck in either one of those slots. But if you guys, I think I sent out like a screenshot or a message saying that ESPN has contacted Notre Dame about a primetime slot. So that gives me the mind of, yeah, maybe we will be the Friday game. So.
All right. Well, hey, Jeff, thanks for joining us and all the insight. We always appreciate you having on and appreciate everything you do to help us out at Dos Leprechauns. And obviously we'll be texting probably the second we jump off, but
yeah,
have a great rest of your day, bro. And we'll talk to you soon. Go Irish.
Definitely. Take care, guys.
Later, brother. All right. That was our buddy, Jeff Trebejek. Got a good football mind. He's a coach. So nice to have him on. Break this down a little bit. Before we jump off, we wanted to do a quick bracket look for the first round, or the first 2 rounds, I guess. So Clemson and Texas, Clemson being the 12 seed, Texas at 6, Tennessee at Ohio State, Tennessee at 9, Ohio State at 8, SMU coming in at 11, beating out Bama. They'll take on Penn State at Penn State. Indiana coming in at 10 will take on our Irish. First round buys. So the winner of Clemson, Texas takes on Arizona State. The winner of Tennessee, Ohio State gets Oregon. The winner of SMU, Penn State gets Boise State. And the winner of our Irish versus Indiana will get Georgia. So not going to be an easy first 2 games. I know people are probably already thinking that Indiana is going to be the easy matchup. I would say that that's probably one of the more unconventional. matchups. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I guess looking at the teams we could play, that would probably be one of my favorites over anybody. I definitely didn't want to see SMU personally. Definitely didn't want to see and I'd prefer it. Would you prefer Indiana or Bama?
Bama, and the committee knows that we would prefer Bama because that's a team from the South coming into South Bend, facing weather that they wouldn't face regular, but instead they choose Indiana to play, even though Indiana is accustomed to that weather. And then we have to, if we beat Indiana, we have to go to the South and play a Georgia.
A very good Georgia team, whether Carson Beck's there or not.
So super fair by the committee. I mean, you know, every other team has a tough draw. Like I'm sure Penn State would have preferred to play Indiana at home. It's just ridiculous.
See, Todd, Patty McCormick said, my strategy, I'll probably take Indy and 10, alternate line if it's Indy 7. Makes sense. Vols got a tough draw. Yeah, that was the Vols are going to have probably the toughest road if you ask me. So let's do real quick. Let's just go through this real quick. Very early raw reactions and who's going to play who. I'll go first. I've got Texas pounding Clemson. I think Texas wins by 2 touchdowns or more. I've got Ohio State beating Tennessee by a very close game. I think they'll win by a field goal or so, something like that, to go take on Oregon. I've got SMU with the upset over Penn State. I just don't believe in Penn State. I mean, yesterday was probably the best game I had seen them play, but SMU's got a very electric offense, and I think that Oregon laid the groundwork for how to expose that. And then, of course, I have the Irish beating Indiana. I think it'll be a close game. I saw somebody here said we should win by 10. So, yeah, so I got Irish beating Indiana and then going to play Georgia. Nate, what about you in the first round?
Yeah, I got Notre Dame beating Indiana convincingly. I think it's ridiculous that they're even playing Indiana. There's a lot better matchups that could have been drawn. It is what it is, I guess.
What are your other?
If they beat Georgia, if they beat Indiana and play Georgia, and they beat Georgia, I think they'd have one of the easiest paths to the national championship of any team in the bracket.
Yeah, because you figure if they beat Indiana, then they go and beat Georgia, they would play the winner of Boise State and either SMU or Penn State, which would probably be SMU. So, you know, does Boise State keep the magic going with Janty, or does SMU keep their miracle season going? So it's going to be, it's a lot of great storylines to play out here. Let's get your other predictions here, Nate, on the other matchups. Clemson, Texas, who you got?
Texas big, probably 20 plus.
Okay.
Ohio State wins by 2 touchdowns against Tennessee and then beats Oregon.
Wow.
Yeah, heard it here first.
All right.
I think Penn State beats SMU, and then Boise State beats Penn State, and Notre Dame plays Penn State. And my national championship would be Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Yeah, that's actually
rematch of 2023.
The second this was just released, I said the same thing. I could see, I truly do see a path for Notre Dame to get through to the finals here and possibly take on Ohio State for the Natty, which would be like ratings and money bonanza for everybody involved in everything.
I will say though, the first playoff game for Notre Dame is one of the, and I hate saying this word, but it's the biggest must win for Notre Dame in some time.
Maybe ever. Probably ever.
Because say they lose, you know, the committee is going to think twice every single time now.
See, I have to disagree with that particular thought only because, first of all, I don't think we're going to lose. But second of all, I want to say that I think that today proved that I think the committee will do the right thing if given the opportunity.
But they didn't. That's a tough.
Well, I'm talking about
Notre
the
Dame,
final seed.
Well, Notre Dame deserved they had to even out their bias because they didn't want to show their Bama bias, but they want to show their Notre Dame anti-bias. So it's just, I really think if Notre Dame loses against Indiana, they're going to have a hard time getting in because they're not going to make any, you know, favors to Notre Dame in more ways than one because they won't join a conference. And
as I look at the future schedules, especially next year, you know, starting off on the road at Miami and then coming home to play A&M, who will be better than what we saw this year, most likely. That schedule next year, if we win out or even maybe one loss, we don't get put out of the playoffs. I think that Notre Dame being the independent gives us the opportunity to take care of business and go 12-0 every year, 11-1, and we're going to be there. And again, looking at the next few schedules is going to be really tough because we got some absolute gargantuans in there. Bama, Miami, Florida State, bringing Michigan back in a couple future dates. It's going to be tough. But I think Freeman has his team going in the right direction, and I don't even want to look too far ahead. Right now, all aim on Indiana Hoosiers, right? Let's battle for Indiana. It's going to be a lot of storylines. Probably Signetti will probably have some bulletin board material for us at some point in the next few weeks or next couple weeks. It's going to be a few days before Christmas. It's just going to be a great opportunity for everybody. Patty says next year will be 14 or 16 team playoffs. Who knows? I definitely don't think they stop at 12. I could see 14 or 16, but I don't see it for a few more years. I think they'll stick with the 12 for a few more years. But all right, guys, with that, stay tuned to our page at Dos Leprechauns, either on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're going to update everybody once we know where these next few games will be played and then what the other playoff or what the other bowl games might be. Also, be on the lookout. Every year, we have a really cool thing that we do. It's a Bowl Mania challenge, and it's different than most you've probably been a part of if you've never done this one with us. You pick the winner of the game, and then you assign a confidence point to that game. The winner of the whole bracket is whoever has the most confidence points won. So, for instance, if there's 64 games in and you give Notre Dame 64 because you're sure they're going to win, you get 64 points for that game if they win. So it's kind of cool, a little bit of different spin on your traditional brackets and things of that nature. It's a great time, makes every game important. So we'll be posting that probably this afternoon. And again, giving you guys heads up, anything new that we hear regarding the opponent, regarding the brackets, anything like that, we'll keep you posted, especially the time and day that we play. So I'm thinking it's going to be Saturday afternoon. Nate, what do you think?
I still think it's Friday. First ever 12-team playoff bracket. They're going to have Notre Dame in the first slot. I don't care who we play.
So stay tuned. We'll give you guys here we go. Here we go.
December 20th, 8 Eastern.
So it is Friday, 8 Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern against Indiana.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern against Indiana. South Bend, Indiana. It's going to be a party, guys. Let's get it going. It's going to be on ESPN ABC.
If they beat Indiana, they played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl
On New Year's Day.
Day.
It's going to be fun, guys. Let's go. Here we go. Go Irish. We'll see you guys a little bit later. See you next week. Stay blessed. Thanks for following us. We love you guys. Go Irish.